interesting component to it is that we actually will be asking for names of participant or recipients of maybe some elderly people, residents in the community that might like to have a rose plant or some vegetables or some herbs. And we're hoping to get some volunteers that would go out and plant those things for those recipients within 48 hours after the event. So we're hoping to do at least 5 recipients, and that will be kind of like a contest. And if we only get 5 names, then we'll just probably do all 5 of those people, whether they're shut-ins or elderly people or whatever, that would just love to have a rose plant or some herbs or just anything that we find that we have extra. And so that's really basically it.
Doris, what day is it? Is that a Saturday?
Yeah. We thought
What's
it would
the
be,
date, honey?
I'm sorry,
May
May 7th.
May 7th.
Yeah, we thought the date was good because it's just right near Mother's Day, and you know, they have some hanging baskets to raffle and some things. I think it'd be a great event, and everybody would be welcome. But it is a swapping event. You know, you bring your plant, somebody else brings, and then afterwards we'll have a few things for sale, whatever's left over or whatever. So free to any public. And we're all
Are you,
I'm
like
sorry.
accepting any kind of like, like I wanted a guy to get a flat of plants and drop them off. You accepting donations like that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We'd definitely
And are
welcome
you planting any in
donations.
the park?
Well, that was something that we were going to talk about. With what was left over, we were hoping that we could, because it is plants and all that, to revitalize. And with Crown, we were hoping that Crown would take part. Joyce actually represents Crown. And also the Senior Center, Lisa Marchetti's also working with me on that. So yes, we was hoping to, but I wanted to talk with Erin first, and don't want to step on any toes in that way, to say, you know, how can we take some of these plants and, you know, if somebody would be willing to plant around the town, whether it be the pond or Several Square or Vine Street or wherever, some of these perennials that might come in that would be helpful, or even annuals.
Are you looking for, I wanna donate like food, like cucumbers, carrots, and
Yeah, that'd be great.
stuff like that. Are you looking for stuff like that too?
Absolutely, yeah. We're actually, we have to remember it's May 7th, so it's just going to be seedlings and small plants, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely, yeah. That would be wonderful.
Well, I'll put that in a motion, that we let them have their event on May 7th at Vine Street Park. The Green Swamp, is that what it's
The
called?
Great Green Swamp.
The
yes.
Great Green Swamp, I'm sorry.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
All right,
All those opposed? Motion carries.
okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Anybody else on their side?
Nope.
All right.
Oh, I apologize. That'd be Miss Joyce Pollock. That would be you.
Oh.
There you go.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm here to represent Crown, and we have a couple events that we want to start working on, and we wanted to get permission for the locations that we'd like to have them. The first one is our Easter egg hunt, and we were looking to have it at the ball field. We understand that the large field is strictly for those that rent it now, but we were wondering about using the rest of the area on April the 9th.
They're all rented.
Oh, all of them are.
But, I mean, if you stay in the outfield, what's the date?
April 9th. It's the day before Palm Sunday.
Yeah, they're actually softball in one field, then big field, little league on that field. They're all pretty much used. But last year you guys did it, and we didn't have a problem. As long as you guys stay off the fields, the actual fields,
Okay.
you know, the dirt.
Off
The infield, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, maybe I should phrase that better, infield.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, we don't want any,
Yeah.
and, I think I told, what's his name?
Brian?
Yeah. No cars on the field. They brought a quad down or something like that.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Yeah, no vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see a problem. I'll let everybody know it's gonna happen. They'll just not practice that day at first practice.
We'll only be there till like
No,
3
right,
in the
yeah, no, that's
afternoon,
no-
so.
That's pretty big though.
It was last year.
Yeah, you guys had, you got a good turnout.
We did.
My kids went down, they couldn't even get in, so we.
I don't remember the exact number, we have
Yeah.
at least 300.
So they set
kids.
everything up in front of the big stand,
Right,
okay, and then you guys went out, I'll come down and unlock all the gates and make sure everything's open.
thank you.
But no vehicles on,
Okay.
beyond that, in front of that, concession stand.
Right, if we have
You
like.
need a truck to
few
come in there and
free-
unload some
Okay.
stuff, you can do that, but no vehicles on the fields, period.
No.
And if it's dry, you can go on, kids wanna run around the bases, like, nobody gonna, nobody gonna say nothing, but if it's wet, that just leaves
Yeah.
a lot of footprints that you gotta try to clean up.
Okay. The other 3 events, we're looking for Vine Street Park for all of them. First one would be the patriotic concert, like we did last year, for May the 29th, from 6 to 9. The next one would be Vine Street Park on June the 11th for the community yard sale day. And the 4th event is for Vine Street Park for our festival, the yearly September 9th, 10th, and 11th. And we would need set up on the 8th.
I don't have a problem with it. No. I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Brenda?
opposed?
Do I still have 1 minute left?
Yep.
You do.
Last year, Crown had talked with the Borough and with West Penn Power about the memorial, or veterans memorial flags. And I know that it had come down to West Penn Power's legal department and the solicitor. And we just wondered, has that gone any further, or is that something that,
If I recall, it was something that we were okay with. They wouldn't outright give us the permission. I think Brian even has the polls that he was allowed to do it on. And I wanna say it was too late in the game by the time we got through that to have it ordered for the last time they were trying to do it. So I don't think we have any issues, but I'll check on my notes on that for sure.
I think there was a contract that needed
Yeah.
to be signed.
I'll take a look to see where that
Sam,
is.
I sent Brian or somebody, told him to call Monongahela. They took them all down, they're everywhere. They are everywhere.
Mhm.
The West Penn guy told me most people don't ask.
They don't ask,
permission.
I-
He didn't
I'm not
understand
telling
why
you
I
what to
was
do, because I'm in a
asking.
meeting, but I know what I would do.
Right. Yeah, let me just take a look at that, and I think I actually have Brian's number, I can take yours before you leave.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay,
Hey Brenda, before you do that,
yes,
the
412,
flowers to be planted in Vine Street Park,
90.
I'd like to make a donation for them to plant flowers in Vine Street Park.
okay,
I'd rather give it to the Crown.
okay, give it to the Crown.
It's a $100 bill.
Yes, it is.
I want you to plant flowers down there
Thank you.
for the borough.
Thanks,
you.
Steve.
Thank you.
Very nice, Steve, thank you.
What is your last name? Steve.
It's a holiday.
Not much fun for me.
Valentine's.
Okay, the engineers report?
Wait a minute,
Oh, okay,
not to step on your toes.
no.
Paul,
Oh, I'm sorry.
No big deal.
see if you
I
sign.
didn't even see you sneak in, Paul, that's like.
Sorry. Need to sign in, but I know you're there.
I know, I got here late. Paul, before we get started,
5 minutes.
fire hydrants replaced, buddy.
I did see that, yeah, I actually wanted to thank you for that, that got done, I know the weather was cold, so, but they did get the first warm day, so I appreciate that.
Not a problem.
I'm sure everybody who lives over there appreciates it too. Just a little bit of news, and then I need to tell you some good stuff and get some permission, so. Bear with me, I'll try to go through this pretty fast. Some of the stuff is, probably more for you than me, but I got an email about the first annual blight remediation summit. You familiar with that?
I have, I believe I received an email on
Okay.
that, yes.
Yeah, I guess it's Friday, April 22nd at WCCC Youngwood. And so I know
Yeah.
we're fighting blight, so we're gonna
Yes.
pass that on. Also got one from the PADEP about, I guess there's a BRIC grant program, and it just deals with improving critical facility and energy resilience. I'm not sure what that all involves, but I guess there's 3 sessions that somebody could attend, and I guess where it's gonna end up is they're gonna offer a no-cost initial feasibility study. And what piqued my interest was for the sewage plant. So, there's a couple dates here in March, there's like 3 of them. It's like a 90-minute program that they talk about this and how to apply for this grant. So if somebody's interested, that probably would be a good thing to look into. And, like I said, even the pump station, but, definitely the sewage plant, I thought that might be of interest.
What's the date on that fall?
March 3rd, March 9th, and March 15th. And it's a Thursday, Wednesday, and a Tuesday, and then there's like a 90-minute session, and it's kinda in the middle of the day, and then the ones in the morning, so.
Is that in person or online?
I believe that is online, it's,
Okay, most of them, they're doing most of it
You know,
virtual
to do,
right
I'll
now
forward you
still.
the email, how's that?
That would be
Just do it,
great.
Yeah, I'll forward you the email, and whoever wants to be interested in it. The other one that might be interested to you is, Westmoreland Conservation District, and you probably get this information, but, they're gonna do some stuff, and some of this is for elected officials and some of it's for the public, but they're gonna have a municipal roundtable on February 25th in Greensburg. That's in person, from 11:30 to 3:30, and then on, one event that they're having that's talking about how to improve streamside property. Well, that pertains to us. That one's on Thursday, March 10th from 7 to 8. That's an online event in the evening. And then, the last one is March 24th at St. Vincent College. This is probably something somebody should go to. This is erosion control and stormwater management. It's an in-person, event. There's 2 offerings, March 24th or 25th from 8 to 4. So I don't know if, Lou or somebody, probably pretty important for somebody to go. And, we've had issues, for years with flooding. We have the project we're working on the west side, and this is all relevant to where we live in our town with the flooding issues. I believe all that stuff's free. It's more informational, educational for us, so.
Paul, may I interrupt? You have
Yes.
my email?
I do, I can forward
The
it
one
to you.
that's stormwater? Please
Yeah,
email me the
I will, I'll do that. I'll send this all to you guys, and then you can, whoever can go. Something that I'm gonna try to do on my own, there's a national water model flood inundation mapping, like training series. And we were sent this information. I get all this stuff through the county, through the emergency management stuff. So some of this stuff doesn't always apply to me specifically, but in the coordination effort, trying to reach out to the right people. But that one interests me because they're talking about, and this was done, 12 years ago maybe, I'm guessing. The FEMA flood maps were updated. And this kind of goes hand in hand with that. But basically, if we get a flood, they're mapping services to determine how far the projected flood would be. And a lot of it I know kind of goes or is geared toward insurance and insurance rates and who would have to apply for flood insurance and stuff. But I'm looking at it from the other side of being prepared and responding. So my perspective is a little bit different, just in that, me personally, that's kind of that's what my interest is, but, I think the other information is the relative to the residents and the properties that would be good, too. So I'm gonna dig into that, and I believe all that's online in the video stuff, so, I guess there's just a lot going on right now, so I'm sorry I got a lot on my list here. The last one I wanted to mention to you, and this, the engineers probably know about this, I guess there's a National Geodetic Survey. I guess there's a webinar series that relates to that. You guys are probably familiar with that, I would assume. I would assume you guys probably get invited to that stuff. It's probably geared more for land surveyors, engineers, and that type of an audience, but elected officials are also invited as well. So I'll tell you what I'll do, Brenda, I'll just send this to all you guys, and whoever wants it or can attend it. It seems like right now, which is a good thing, I guess, there's just a lot of information, there's a lot of training going around, which is good. A couple good news things, and then I'm done. We did we did a safety tour at the West End Elementary School back in about the middle of January. The fire department and myself were up there, and they have been making improvements in the safety side of the facility, as well as procedures and whatnot. Really, I'm glad. This has been an endeavor for quite a few years now that they've done this, and not just security, but fire response and trying to keep everybody safe. In many facets, they are really doing their homework and getting stuff done at the school. So I tip my hat to them, because that takes money, obviously, but it takes time to go through and get people involved and try to make the right decisions. I know PSP offers like a security type survey of the facility, and I know they've done that with the school. So good news, that building falls in our community. We'll be the first ones there, so we always want to be on top of what's going on. A little bit of good news. This year, a lot of thanks to go out already. The community fund has donated $250. Crown has donated $100, and I believe Mr. Lowndes also donated $50. So $400 was donated to emergency management to buy equipment or whatever we need. And I know I mentioned to you last month about getting things for our generator trailer that we might need, and trying to add some accessories like cords and some portable lighting and things. We're going to be in a support role, but these are like valuable resources that we can offer, and we'd like to commit this money and purchase some of the stuff that could really help out in certain situations, no matter what's going on, whether it's a rescue or a fire, or even just a police event, or for that matter a community event, light up night and the festival and stuff. So I would like to at least get the okay to spend what the donated money is, which is about $400. I don't know what all we can get, because prices are changing like quick. But we were looking at getting a pintle hitch, which you would put onto a vehicle to move the trailer, and then we want to get a lock for it too. Like, we bark it up at the festival, there's no way to lock that hitch. I mean, nobody drove away with it, but boy, if somebody does, it's gonna raise some eyebrows. And then we just looked at some heavy duty extension cords and some portable lighting that we're looking to get. And again, this would all kind of augment the generator, and then if somebody called for that resource, we could not only bring it, but we have other things that could help them out, or help the town out, or whatever. So always look at preparedness. So that's just my mindset. I don't want to apologize for that, because that's really my job, but that's kind of usually the way I think, is like, what about this, what about that? We had that one threat, which you were all familiar with the snow and then the ice and everything. That was pretty credible, very possible. So we, kind of mobilized and went down. We ran the generators and stuff, kind of made sure everything was ready to go. But having these other things that could add to it, I think would be a great asset for, a few $100s of money. I think these are things that would last a long time too. So they're not items that would be expendable over, a couple years. They probably would last us, 10 years, I would guess, or more. So if you're okay with it, I'd like to try to proceed with that. Everything will go through the office, but, what we wanna do is, we're tax exempt, so we wanna make sure we don't pay tax. So, wherever we go, we'll have to get some support from whoever's in the office, get like hard quotes and say, hey, here's what the number is, we need a tax exempt, so we don't have to pay taxes, so. I don't know what the purchasing procedures are, you know, maybe Louis, you guys can offer some suggestions on locations on stuff we already have accounts with or whatever, I don't know, but, just like I said, trying to move us forward. I know they're little steps, but it's better than making no steps, so. Thank you, guys, I appreciate it. I know it's a
Thanks,
lot.
Paul.
Thanks,
It's
Paul.
like they're throwing a ton of stuff at me, so I'm trying to give you the critical items.
Okay. Engineers report.
Yes, good evening, and just to build on a couple things Paul mentioned, which is all very good information, that municipal roundtable on the 25th of February, you know, we certainly will have, either myself or another representative will be at that, since we represent a lot of municipalities, and certainly encourage if any staff or council members can attend that. Along with, I'm not sure if it's the exact same event that E&S Stormwater, one that he mentioned. There is one that we are attending around that time frame, but certainly, if Lou or anyone else can attend, with the way the stormwater regulations are constantly changing, it would probably be good, if someone could attend. So, and on to the, report itself, the first few bullet points there are old info, and please feel free to interrupt me if there's anything that you would like to talk about. Moving to item 4 on the corrective action plan. The corrective plan progress report was submitted January 28th, so that is handled for the period. Moving to item 6 on the 2021 road program. That was all worked, Lou was very helpful. We worked with him and Dalton to check any punch list items on that. So those were all completed, and we sent final pay request 2 weeks ago, roughly February 2nd, recommending that final payment to El Grande on that. So, that was in the amount of $25,014.59. I don't know if there's any questions on that one. Okay.
No?
No?
Not good, we're good.
You gotta make a motion.
All to pay that?
You need a motion to pay that.
It was all, you, thought you already paid it. That was the final.
I thought that was
That was
paid in
final.
January,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
already paid.
Okay, item 7 and 8 were older information, unless there's questions. Item 9 on the aeration system, I'm gonna let Dalton address that one, he's a little more familiar with that, with Ryan, the who he's worked with on that.
Okay, so kind of go with the aeration system, and this is actually going to end up tying into item 13 as well. Aeration system, no real update on the vendor end of things in the past month. The vendor did provide a preliminary cost of materials for the aeration system replacement at $635 for diffuser. So with pretty much really rough, really preliminary cost. We're currently working with the plant staff to get a number of diffusers. The old plant drawings and as-builts did not include a diffuser count. So we are in the process of getting that number and also making sure we have the some of the technical specs of that aeration system for that plant to look at replacing the system and making sure we replace it in kind. So there's no
So the socks are no longer available, correct?
Correct, yes.
So this is our alternative.
Yes.
Bless you.
Thanks.
I know Brian's been the one who's been primarily,
Yeah.
focusing on this, but, it's been my understanding from him that, this is pretty much our best alternative moving forward. And there is, reason I bring up that price is their per diffuser for the cost is, once we have a cost down, we'll touch on this item later. But this, the replacement of the aeration system is also potentially available for a grant application, that we're going to, discuss when we get to, the end of the report, so. There is also the potential that once we get kind of, technical specs nailed down and get the number diffused and get a rough cost of what we need, there is potential grant money available to, fund the system replacement. That would be at no cost to the borough itself in terms of construction.
Item 10 on the report regarding the FEMA grant application. That was all submitted, and Dalton did receive an update that the application was complete, so that is in their process, and we will keep the borough informed as that evolves. But I believe it would be later summer until we would hear anything back on that one.
I believe right now the schedule for that says that they would anticipate notification of award of funding sometime around July. But whenever I was attending some of these FEMA seminars back then last fall, they did indicate that's usually a hopeful date, and more than likely, we probably won't receive word of funding or notification that grant request was not chosen, potentially into the fall, and even like sometimes in September and November, they said is normally probably what it will actually be. So they shoot for July, but more than likely, September and November, we'll probably actually find out if grant money is awarded.
Is that the Vernon project? Is that the project on the side?
Yes.
It is. Oh, yeah, right.
Okay, item 11 on the Main Street sewer, with the condition that pipes in. Now, we submitted, application, to the borough, and, more of a follow-up, I guess. I don't know, Dan, I guess, it was indicated you were trying to track down if, we had a certificate of insurance, to transmit with that package. And, certainly once that's, received, that whole we can get that whole package over to CSX.
Yep. And pretty much where we left things off, and when I last spoke to Susie before she resigned, I think the only thing outstanding from the package at that point was the certificate of insurance. The insurance company at the time had indicated that certificate should have arrived at the latest last week. So I'm not sure if, we were just kinda not sure if that's been in receipt yet from them or not, but, once that outstanding item is in, that package can be transmitted back to the CSX person who originally provided the material. If you would need any contact, if you need her contact information, email address, you can pretty much just get a hold of me, and I can forward the initial email as well if you needed it, with directions on how to send back. And once the agreement has been sent back and accepted by CSX, then the application then could be made to actually access the railroad easement to perform the CCTV work and progress from there in terms of basically what happens when that CCTV happens. So.
Questions on that one? Items 12, 13, I'm gonna have it Dalton address since he's been the point on those particular projects.
Okay, so bullet point number 12, to go with this bullet point, those two 11 by 17 maps that I provided everyone with, those are connected to this bullet point. Primarily going through with this, Borough received notification that Columbia Gas was going to be doing a pretty substantial gas line replacement project. Myself and Ryan can test well with our office as well as Lou met with representatives of Columbia Gas back on January 20th to discuss both that large project as well as a smaller project they're doing on the west side along Walnut Street. The two 11x17s that I gave to everyone, the one that has L1, L2, L3, just those three, that is the project that is meant to take place over on Walnut Street. And the other sheet that has the 5 different squares, L1 through L5, that is the broad overhead scope of the second project, which they've titled the East Main West Newton Gas Line Replacement Project. So pretty much main thing, there's going to be potentially a lot of coordination items with Columbia Gas moving forward. During the course of this meeting, they indicated that this is the beginning of a 6 to 8 year long project they're going to be doing, where they've had issues with their low pressure gas lines, and they're planning to replace every single one of their low pressure gas lines in the area over the next 6 to 8 years. And that includes the entirety of the borough. Pretty much every gas line in this borough is supposed to be replaced during that time frame. So Columbia Gas, since we had such a big project coming in, and also with moving forward with these, considering they advise it's going to be such a long-term project, we wanted to just basically kind of start coordinating with Columbia Gas, try to get a little bit more communication coordination between the borough and Columbia Gas for the duration of this project. And we also saw it as an opportunity where, considering Columbia Gas over the next 6 to 8 years will essentially be excavating most of the borough to replace these gas lines, it was also seen as an opportunity where the borough could, with help from Columbia Gas and prior planning, could try to plan out any other additional sewer utility projects as well as road programs around when Columbia Gas would be doing the work. And there was also a preliminary discussion held about splitting restoration costs, where Columbia Gas would essentially, there'd be a case where Columbia Gas would provide funding to the borough for the borough to restore its own road. So essentially it would be some money would come to the borough to help offset some costs of a road program, so the borough could repave that whole road at a reduced cost to the borough with Columbia Gas for that restoration. So pretty much, so going with that, these two maps right here pretty much are set to show show the impacted roads for this coming year's projects. Columbia Gas indicated they're hoping to start the larger project, the East Main Street project on this side of the river. They're hoping to start that project next month, pending the Borough Road opening permit to be issued to them. And then the other project over along Walnut Street, they're hoping to work on this summer. I believe he gave a June or July construction start date for that work. And to go with, and Lou, feel free to interrupt or throw anything else in, if I'm missing anything here. So there's also attachment A to this engineer's report, that last page of the report. This is kind of a more detailed breakdown and summary of the gas line replacement projects scheduled for this year, as well as a couple of coordination items that Columbia Gas had inquired about. So that Walnut Lane leak replacement project is pretty much an area along Walnut, Locust, Jefferson Court, and Cedar Street is where that project touches. And then there's the full list of roads that are anticipated to be impacted by the East Main project. It includes sections of 3rd, 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th Street, up around Vine Street, Hill Street, High Street, and Howard Street. So pretty extensive reach with that project. I believe they indicated that project's going to be around 10,000 feet of pipe overall construction over the course of this year. So with all the road opening items that Columbia Gas is looking at, they wanted to bring up, they had a couple coordination items they wanted to bring up, basically to make sure restoration requirements were good with the borough, and also what the borough would prefer in terms of a couple restoration items. The first one is for that East Main Street job. South 5th Street is one of the streets they would be excavating. That street is currently a brick roadway, and if I'm remembering the discussion correctly, I believe that's the last full brick road in the borough. So Columbia Gas, with regards to this road, they were looking for guidance on if the borough would want this road replaced in kind as a brick road, or if they would want another, or if the borough would want another road restoration item used for that specific roadway.
They've already had to go into that street, and, we told them to replace those bricks.
Okay.
So they've already did a cut in there, and we told them we want that street to remain bricks. They had a leak up there on South Fifth.
Okay. Bless you.
Thanks.
So that was the first item that they wanted to discuss, so we will advise them that, Borough would like that replaced in kind. Second roadway restoration item they had, Vine Street is currently a concrete with brick subbase. I have that right, Lou?
It's brick, part of it is concrete now. Most of it is just overlay on, over brick.
Okay. Thank you. So pretty much Columbia Gas's, request for this was, request for guidance on this was if, in the areas where there is brick underbase, or if there's an area where it's the concrete subbase, does the borough want that replaced concrete, or would the borough prefer to be the brick and concrete as is mostly existing along that road at this point? So, in this case, it's just a matter of the subbase, and they just wanna make sure they have that proper restoration requirement built in, for the contractor.
That'd be brick on brick, concrete.
It's already part concrete.
Huh?
It's already part concrete.
That's part brick too.
It might as well be all concrete.
That's what I'm saying, all concrete, get rid of the brick.
Okay, so provide.
Don't break it, that's just me.
Okay.
I mean, to me, a concrete base is better than a brick and concrete base.
Yeah.
But I'm not an engineer, I'm not a.
Is there a
What's your
possibility, if they excavated some of the brick keeping Pine Street, that they could reserve some if you're keeping Fifth Street brick? Because I saw here where it says they're having trouble finding brick now,
I don't know, where's the concrete on Vine Street?
where it all caved in that year.
The only place I know of concrete, Randy, is where we had that big water main break,
Front Baptist Church.
like between 8th and 6th, where they replaced all that, to my knowledge. They tore up all the brick, they poured concrete,
Oh, okay, they put concrete back in
that down,
after the
instead of the
brick.
brick, yes.
Okay. All right.
That's to me, get rid of the brick.
You're right. Get rid of the brick.
I'm not an engineer, but
Yeah,
that's what I would
and
do.
I agree with that, structurally wise.
Structurally, yeah,
And I like the mayor's point,
you can save the brick.
save the bricks, and if they are matching kind of the stuff on South Fifth, then
Correct.
maybe they could be used, some of those that are
Correct.
in good shape could be used there.
Do we need a motion for that?
I mean, to what,
Pardon?
to have them do that, no, that's fine, yeah, you can do that. Yes,
Okay. Okay, do we have a motion to repair Vine Street, the Columbia Gas? Repair Vine Street with concrete, removing the brick, saving the brick, in case we can match that into the Fifth Street repair. That a
Motion.
motion?
Yeah.
Second?
I'll second.
Danny second.
Who's first?
Tony. All those in favor?
All right.
All those opposed? Passes.
But they tunnel it under the tracks in this project.
They will not be, I do not believe they're actually going to be hitting the tracks, during the scope of this specific project. So kind of continuing on here, one of the miscellaneous items that, Columbia Gas had brought forward, let's see here. This miscellaneous item is basically kind of what I had said earlier about Columbia Gas, the length of time for their project. And Columbia Gas is also, they were very generous in in their outreach and their proposals for outreach. They thought that basically kind of try to reach out to the council more and also maybe try to do some sort of public outreach with the community to basically kind of advise of those projects moving forward. So that way residents can be aware of, say, it may not be this year, but 2 years from now, this is when gas lines tend to be replaced along your road, so kind of just giving you a heads up along that and maybe basically kind of try to help the borough plan out as well as the residents plan out for that item. They'll be advising on their construction drawings on an annual basis, and also during the course of that meeting, they did say they were going to be putting together a list of, a rough preliminary list of all the roads they intended to work on and what year they intended to work on them in. That is a rough list that will probably, almost certainly will adjust as time goes on, but they did offer to provide that to us. They did generally advise that on gas pipelines on this side of the river, they're going to be working their way north from here, so starting up in this area and then basically moving their way north is their kind of intended route for projects, and then it'll pretty much be the other direction across the river there. So that was pretty much those Columbia Gas items. I think there was one more item here that had been brought up. Okay, I think I actually did hit all the items there. So that was pretty much how our utility meeting with Columbia Gas went. Their indication and also some food for thought for council to basically kind of take a look at this map, and think about also coming up in the future, knowledge that most of the borough is going to be excavated at some point by Columbia Gas to potentially plan future projects to try to shave and like maybe share costs and cut some costs where there needs to be a sewer line replacement in an area where Columbia Gas will be replacing a gas line, could potentially save some costs there with the excavation and the roadway restoration as well. So I think that was pretty much everything we had for Columbia Gas.
CSA.
Yep. Lou, did I miss anything on that?
Not that I know
Brenda.
What? Yes, sir.
Some of the gas lines that run down 6th Street, 8th Street are in the middle of the sidewalk. Is there gonna be cost to the homeowners when we do this?
No. Shouldn't be.
Because those are all concrete
No,
sidewalks.
they all get replaced, and that's what Todd Cole does for a living. Yeah, he comes in and replaces and repairs and,
Okay, that's all I had.
yeah, if it's a gas line, it's
Cause I know when they did 5th Street, there was cost to the homeowners.
should not have been.
There was.
Another one.
Sure there was. Fred Lindor paid out his nose to have that sidewalk replaced.
I do too,
Yes.
In Southfield.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
There's
okay.
no way,
yes,
you should have fought that.
Yeah.
They did try to fight it.
yeah. Fred helped us.
Yes. Trust me, I was involved in all that with them. They paid a lot of money.
That sidewalk would have stayed the way it was until I lived there.
They didn't have a choice.
How do you not have a choice?
Whatever happened, Tony, I wasn't involved in the original scope of that
Because
job.
I worked for Todd Cole, that's what we did, we went around and passed.
That didn't have nothing to do with
sidewalks
Todd
and-
Cole at the
No, I'm
time.
just saying, I don't know what the time was.
Yeah, that was water line, something else.
Oh, I don't know,
Down there.
I don't know when that was.
But the borough made him pay for his own sidewalks and curbs.
Well, we had
It was a lot of money.
We had a sidewalk up on South Fifth, Gabbing, and Columbia Gas made that good. Todd fixed that. There was two cuts
Maybe,
up.
I don't know how long ago that
There
was.
was two cuts up on Fifth Street, this upper part of South Fifth, where the brick is.
Excuse me, may I also speak to that? The gas line from the home to the roadway, I'm wondering if Columbia Gas is also, before they do this big project, is also going to look at some of the blighted areas and cut those gas lines off. Because they actually did that over, on one of our properties over here on Water Street. They did that several years back without any letter, to us to let us know that they did do that. And, then they also came this past week, actually just today, to do another one of our houses without a letter to let us know. And my husband was there, thank goodness, and stopped it. And or the gas line would have been taken out from the roadway to the home. but they were there today, and we haven't received any letters, so if that's happening to us, I'm wondering if that may be part of the project to get them going, and that's part of that project while they're working on that, to look at the blighted areas and get rid of the gas lines. But my concern is they're not making the homeowners aware or not notifying the homeowners.
And with council's permission, we can certainly, as part of our coordination efforts with the gas company, bring that to their attention and ask that they, advise any residents or property owners that they intend to do that.
Yes.
You didn't want them disconnected, right?
No, and thank goodness he was there to stop them,
Right.
because they were going to do it just
Well, they
today.
would have to get a work order from somewhere.
Well, Verizon was there last week, and if you look around the corner where we have our houses there, corner of Water and Vine, there's orange diamond shaped, and that was Verizon, because they have to coordinate with the sewage, the Columbia Gas, and Verizon.
Yes, ma'am.
I only know because I questioned him on all this, I didn't know any of this. So Verizon was there marking everything, and I says, what are you doing? And he explained it all to me, and he said, we got a call that one of these properties is gonna be shut off. And I said, really? I said, what, these are our properties, like, we didn't get no notification of this. And he said, I'm sorry, ma'am, he says, and he explained to me everything. He said the green markers are the sewage, the orange is Verizon, and I think blue there's other colors, but anyway, it's beside the point. But, yeah, I just learned of that. So I'm wondering if they're doing that to us without, just properties that have not been in use for several years, he said. So I'm wondering if they're gonna start doing that as part of the money saving, to just take care of all of that, and that kinda makes sense, actually.
We can't answer. We can have it addressed, but that's all we do.
Yeah,
And-
sure.
And the solicitor, Sam did bring up a good point. We can only address this insofar as this particular project that is in front of us for the borough with Columbia Gas.
That would be the only one we have any teeth in questioning, but as an aside, we can mention, say, hey, what's going on in the borough too. We wouldn't have much influence. Did you happen to get in contact with them after they tried to do that?
I called, Columbia Gas, and they did actually, I think that they did actually have one of the properties, and I do think it was the 104 Vine.
Did they say like what they were shutting it off or what kind of notice they get? I don't understand how they can do that without any sort of notice. I mean, the PUC is probably not gonna be happy about that, so I would look into that on your end and make a report of that, for sure.
Yeah,
Especially with it being as cold as it is now, even if you're not
Yeah, usually
using
in winter,
that
it'll shut
property,
nothing.
yeah, it's very surprising to see that.
In the winter, they don't shut it. They come in
I
spring.
just have a question. So
Usually
then
with the temperatures and stuff, they don't,
if there's like an abandoned property and then you purchase the abandoned property, who makes a decision to cut off the sewer, to cut the sewer line out to the street? 'Cause that happened on my property up on Second Street. When I was looking into building the garage, it had the drain because there was a trailer there, and it was cut off, and nobody ever notified me that that was dead. So I would have to redo the whole thing. Who makes those decisions to do that to property? Where does that come from?
Could either be, I don't know. Property owner report, does it cut off on the property?
It was taken out of the property.
Well, that would have been the guy before you bought it.
Well, like the property was abandoned.
Nobody can go on your property.
It's hard to say without knowing the details of the property, you know, if it was.
Well, there was a
when you
trailer
made
there, it was
then-
abandoned, I think the borough tore down the trailer. Then nobody knew who the owner was for a real long time, cause I had a hard time finding out. They never really did find the owner, he's probably buried in my yard somewhere. But anyway, so I had to go to court and then petition, because there were people squatting in the trailer above. But when I went to look to put a garage down there, the sewer line, everything was taken out.
Mary, that might have been done when I was on council. We had redone Second Street, North Second Street, and Danny was here, some other people were here. That was a whole project done the whole way up the hill, and
They took the
might have
trail out.
happened then. It wouldn't have been, to our knowledge, obviously, it would have been,
Yeah.
something that was done in the field, but that's probably.
But I mean, I
about
just don't think
it.
that's a good idea, cause if you want somebody to buy property that's abandoned, then why would you take out the lateral? That just don't make sense.
Yeah, right.
Just asking. I gave up on Borough, but I just wondered.
You guys able to, can I ask you a question real quick? Just looking from our standpoint, emergency services, very interested in notification on where they're gonna work for street closures and gas line leaks and all that stuff, so however that can work out, just to coordinate, mostly with the fire department, but through 911 as well, so if they get calls and stuff, so.
I was actually going to bring like two more things to the attention after some of the comments. We will advise Columbia Gas on resident notifications again, but during the course of our utility meeting, they did advise that during the process leading up to when they were going to actually be cutting in the streets and beginning the work, they were going to the contractor, this particular contractor will be dropping letters off and more than likely knocking on doors for houses where they intend to do the work. Like within the next couple of days compared to when he actually knocks on the door. This particular contractor, they said, is very good about providing that pre-notice that the street's gonna be ripped up and they're going to be doing that work, replacing any gas services. But we will also continue coordination with them to make sure that that outreach is properly seen through for the residents. And coming along to your question there, so when we talked to Lou, they will be including Lou in all of their correspondence, and we also did advise them to reach out to fire department and one or two other organizations, I think, within the borough to reach.
Churches, pizza, everybody, all businesses and churches involved on these streets, they need to notify.
Yeah, and they'll also be reaching out to the school because they do anticipate a slight impact to potential bus routes getting to the school. But they have, I can't remember if they already had or if they were intending to reach out to the school at that point
I
in time.
think they already had, but they were gonna follow up.
Yes, so they were following those, Lou's involved in all the correspondence, and they haven't reached out to fire department, et cetera. They indicated that they will be, whenever they go to begin construction.
Yeah, if you could give them, pass on my information as well. I'll just make sure that better them here twice than not at all,
Right.
you know what I mean, so yeah, I'll give you my number, so. Thank you, guys.
On this attachment, is there a typo on here? On the North 7th Street? Would that be 5th Street?
Know where Schultz live?
Yeah, there's like a
I
little,
think here's where Schultz live.
Almost like an
Okay.
alley.
yeah, there's
They're
just
not
that
doing
short
anything on
little
5th Street at all?
On which street?
North 5th Street.
No. So they'll pretty much, I think it's North 3rd, North 4th,
And North
that
7th.
little stub in North 7th is pretty much the sections on the north end they intend to hit now. Their primary focus will be Main Street, Vine Street, and the roads between those.
They replaced the gas line at my house just within the past year,
They
but
did
not
it
the street.
Yeah.
No one else
Okay,
on
I'll skip your
North Fifth Street, but my house.
This year, but
Mhm.
Okay, any further questions on the Columbia Gas pipeline projects?
well, you will keep Lou abreast of all this, correct?
Yes, they have Lou's direct contact information, and they were instructed at this meeting to, essentially, Lou is their primary source of contact. We'll probably be CC'd on any sort of correspondence, or Lou will be notifying us following correspondence, but their primary point of contact will be for Lou.
Me and Dalton will keep in touch, whatever
All right, but
starts the church.
That actually did bring up one last item I had that I did finally find up here. With regards to that, to the Columbia Gas and their street opening permits for the borough. Essentially, I know we had discussed at that meeting, Columbia Gas requested that borough road opening ordinances currently limit road openings to 125 feet of trench at a time. And then also the permits are good for 30 days before they require renewal. Columbia Gas had indicated that if it was possible for at least starting with this larger East Main Street project, to include some sort of clause or caveat in the issued permit extending both of those, so that way they could hopefully wouldn't have to apply every month to, have to renew the permit when they're probably going to be on site for 6 to 9 months.
Yeah,
I mean, there's not a major problem with it. You can always ask for them to help assist in other ways too. If they're doing some restoration, they can do maybe a little bit more than we would require, as a favor of leaving that open, but you guys can do it, happens all the time. You know, 125 feet, if they're gonna be here for that long, it's not a bad idea to get some goodwill with them so that we're working on a good relationship as opposed to how some of the paving and restoration.
how long should we extend it?
How long's reasonable do you guys think we'll need it for?
Depends on the contractor.
Yeah, that's a best guess at this point.
Yeah,
I don't wanna do it too much, because it is mandatory, you know, you don't wanna leave that open, is, you want them to hustle through that to get that work done.
Yeah.
But-
Their indication wasn't that they were going to be like leaving large stretches open, it was more, so they didn't have to go through the formality.
Per day.
of Redoing the permit, correct.
For 30 days.
Yes, so, I mean, in this instance, in conversations we had with them during that meeting, it seemed like, it was probably gonna be, 6 months of excavation, was their, kind of rough timeline, so, I would suggest potentially instead of, making it a 6-month,
We got three, so they're gonna pay a permit fee for every month?
Every time they submit one.
Or could we limit that to 2 or 3 or something like that?
You could do
We
whatever
go,
you'd like with it,
we
right?
go 3 and 3?
If you want to.
What do you think? Is that a fair, I'm asking what's fair. We can't give them the house.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, but we can give them the apartment, you know what I mean, like 3 and 3, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Every 3 months, apply for a new permit?
yeah, I think that would be reasonable, probably, they would need probably 3 permits if they need an extended period of time, but, then extends that goodwill to them.
So what if we did this? We need a permit opening, it's good for 3 months, the second 3 months, you need another permit opening. Then we could give them an extension if they need another month, instead of doing another permit.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can always extend the permit too,
You know
you
what I
have that option, we're gonna have them leave the meeting.
I'd like to have at least 2
once a month.
payments. You know what I mean, like I said, I
Well,
don't,
how much of this project are they doing in that, say this is all gonna take 6 months, or are they going little by little, or?
The duration of this project, they're anticipating 6 months.
Okay.
I'm just
so if we
wondering,
gave them the first one, and we gave them a 3-month permit, after 3 months, they gotta submit another permit, and if they end up running a month over, we just extend it.
just throwing an idea, if we give them a permit for X months, say it's either 2 or 3 months, and then based on the performance and quality of the restoration of part of the street, then we work with them on an extension. But if they're making a big mess and everybody's upset, then, you know, maybe we have a little bit more leverage.
How far are you gonna go? For the first permit is what I'm asking.
Well, of course, that's the council's call. I would go less than 2 months, but 3 months to me would be
That's what I'm saying.
reasonable.
You gave 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay, then after 3 months, they gotta reapply. Then if it goes 7 months, okay, we're gonna give you an extension for the 7th month. You don't have to reapply.
If we're set.
If everything's looking good.
That's not.
So if you're gonna throw that wording in there, if that helps,
Anything we need for
You know.
leverage on them, I think we're gonna try it.
if we're giving them a break on permits, they gotta do a little
Yeah,
bit
if they
of
can
the
give us
job, that's
a
all.
realistic idea of when these areas are actually likely
Or
to
we
get
could
started, it
go
might be
3
a better
months
idea
on
how long.
contingency of,
Just
then
3
take
months.
it from there.
Just go 3 months. Then it'll be addressed after that.
That's an idea. It'll be addressed after 2 months and see what they're doing and whether they're gonna pay.
Well, I
for
mean,
it.
Lou should be seeing this as this is going, I mean, and I don't know if you guys want the engineers or Lou there whenever they backfill stuff, but we certainly, that was the problem with the paving around town is nobody's there to watch them. Obviously, it's gonna cost the borough a little bit more, but we can see that that's a problem. People are coming here and not following the restoration specs.
They're ripping up all,
Well, that's what
Couple
I mean.
whole
I mean,
streets
I
that we
can tell
just
you
have
right now,
paved.
we know Mr. Kimberly's gonna be watching these guys too, because that's what he does.
Yeah.
And he brings up very valid points when he comes here and does that. it's worth having somebody inspect that before they do. And I knew that was one of the big points we talked about when Columbia first proposed these projects here, was to make sure that somebody
Yeah,
was
but we
watching
need,
the
we
restoration.
need them to pay for the inspection,
Right. Yeah.
okay? If we decide that we wanna bring him out, not every ditch, but twice a week to do, it's on Columbia Gas, it can't be on us.
That's what we need to amend ordinances for whenever we do this, and that's why we've been discussing it and changes and everything. If you guys wanna do anything that way, we can have a wide variety of an ordinance here.
I mean, for what it costs to bring them out, that should be on Columbia Gas, it shouldn't be on us.
A more palatable answer on that may be if you're gonna update ordinances is perhaps they need to provide a compaction test for so many linear feet every so often.
Yeah, that's
Provide
fine.
that, and that would minimize any physical observation necessary if they're providing and show the actual location of
That's
the
fine.
compaction test.
But we need you guys to write that into the thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean,
So what I'll
you guys are gonna handheld this thing, we need that information put in there. Hey, when you open a ditch, you get a permit, then you dig it, you put your line in, you need compaction test before you, and then
So that's
to
not gonna
inspect
happen, that's
before you
not
can
gonna happen
pay.
for the first part of this project, because we have to amend the ordinance, that means advertising and everything else. So that's not
We
gonna
can't
happen.
make them do that just by telling them to do that?
We can't just put in requirements because we want requirements, they have to be put in there by the ordinance. We can't just say, all right, you've gotta do this, that, or the other, everybody has to go to the same standard.
We could put it in
Or
there,
you have to
they don't
change
live
Or you have to change it.
Redefine it.
there. No, wait. Alright, we need to get on that ordinance.
I'll send a couple that we've recently done over to Ryan and these guys to see if it'll work for you.
Alright.
And I can send it over to Brenda or the new secretary, and I'll share with you guys. We've discussed this time and time again, you guys can get pretty creative with that, like compaction test, or however long. Let's say we put a new road in, if you come in for so many feet within the first 5 years, you're doing curb to curb. If it's, 5 years older, you might not have to do as much restoration. Those things are all on the table if that's something you're interested in, if you're.
Yes.
Some of these
So
states
put in there
just
what
been
you can put in there, and,
They're cut through.
what'd you say?
North Fourth's just been paved on it.
After 3 months, do another permit? or-
Yeah, and we'll evaluate after 3.
Alright.
I know that final permit will have to be issued by the borough, as the application on the borough list through the borough, but, we can advise on the language to put into that to meet those
Yes.
requirements, so. We can get their permits issued, and then, like I said, the East Main Street, they're hoping to start next month, so, we can kind of basically take them under observation then, and,
Okay.
we can also discuss with Ryan and Jason if there's any additional thoughts or actions we could potentially have.
Well, it is possible, because they're starting so soon, we possibly, during a pre-construction meeting, we can tell them, we will be doing periodic checks, even though, whether that's lube running out on occasion, or maybe we drop by, not that we're on a robust schedule to do.
They know that.
But at least it's in their mind that they're
Correct.
going to get checked.
Correct.
Could I say something? Maybe have them, notify Lou, like they're digging a trench right down the side of every street, they're gonna run into laterals. I mean, every lateral that's not marked, and Lou doesn't know where a homeowner's lateral is, it's not on the maps. So make sure that they have to repair that pipe. Every time they hit a lateral and break a pipe or something, like maybe get hold of Lou and say, and make sure they do repair it the right way with Ferncos and. because
Schedule
they're gonna
4,
hit-
the whole night, yeah.
Every home has a lateral, and they're gonna hit them if it's not marked. I mean, that's happening, it just happens that way when they put a trench down the street.
Yep, and Lou is included in all the coordination, and they did advise too that when they held the pre-construction meeting, Lou would be one of the attendees for the pre-construction meeting as well. So that can be an item to be brought up during the pre-construction meeting as well, is verifying contractor responsibility in regards to stricken utilities, which usually would fall on the contractor to repair any stricken utilities. But we said that just needs, we'll just verify that and verify that with them as well.
Clarification.
Under Pennsylvania one call law, they are required to report, especially if it's like a gas or water line, they're supposed to, report that to the utility and turn that into the,
Right, they should know all
Yeah,
that.
right.
But you always hit, I don't care what you do. I put a lot of underground in, you're gonna tell me, you're gonna hit something. Nobody's perfect, so.
Can you guys propose something to them that will benefit the borough and it shouldn't cost them anything? Can they provide as-built drawings of these lines after everything's done? Again, looking from an emergency situation, and even if the borough would do digging, is there some way that they could provide at whatever time, you know, when a project's done or whatever, however they're gonna do it, some type of an as-built, so they have an idea, like if the line ends up getting moved from the street to the sidewalk and things of that nature, that.
That's a great point, Paul, and we'll certainly put that out, because realistically, they're gonna do that regardless to update their GIS mapping of their system, so we will.
We'll just make sure we're CC'd on
Yeah,
all
make
their.
sure you guys get it, and that way it'll make its way to the borough. It'll benefit, you know, the street department and anything with emergency services, so, fire department.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
I've been in, pretty regular communication with both of the, Columbia Gas engineers who are overseeing projects on both sides. There's one running this side, one running the other side's projects, basically. So I'll make sure that's communicated to them. They seem to be pretty, they've so far proven to be pretty good about communicating, and keeping each other in the loop and following up as well, so. Not, at this point in time, not anticipating any issues. It is early though, so.
Right.
Anything can happen, but, so far, not anticipating any issues. Moving on from the Columbia Gas onto bullet point 13 here, the LSA CFA grants. So we want to bring this to, forward to the borough. On January 26th, LSA opened the CFA grant program, began accepting applications. This grant program covers a wide variety of projects involving infrastructure, construction, demolition, even purchase of utility vehicles. This covers a wide range of costs. This grant program, it offers a range of $25,000 to $1 million in funding per application. And it's also a full cost grant, so the borough would not need to, if the borough would decide to pursue a grant application, they would not need to commit any sort of matching funds like they had to do with the FEMA grant. And this grant will also cover, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I do believe it would like reimburse engineering costs for any design work necessary. So if there was a project that the borough had in mind, essentially, if they were awarded the full grant money that they requested, they could do the project, engineering, construction, et cetera, all included, at basically an initial payout to the borough and then a reimbursement for charges leading up to the award of funding. So with this grant period runs until March 15th, 2022. That's when grants would be due. Speaking to a couple other engineers who have applied for this grant, probably looking at 6 to 9 months between application deadline and notification of awards. So March 15th, we'd be looking at either September, like sometime in September to December funding. Typically they hedge on 6 months. During COVID, they did have some extended to 9 months because this particular committee meets every 3 months, which is why the 6 or 9 months timeline. So we're looking at, they have a pretty big pot available for funds for this. So something we wanted to put forward to the borough is 2 potential projects that could actually qualify for this grant funding and might be worth the borough looking into and pursuing. The first is the long-term control plan phase 2 force main replacement project. I do know from conversations with Brian that this project has previously been, has design work into it. It's previously permitted. It's basically been essentially sitting on the shelf awaiting funding to be able to be put into action. We think this is probably a project that the borough want to take into consideration to apply for grant funding for. Award a grant money for this project, and get it built in, potentially at no cost to the borough itself. So this is one project potentially that could be used for the grant application. And second is what we talked about, I had mentioned previously, the sewage treatment plant aeration system upgrades. Nailing down a cost for that. The aeration system would also potentially be eligible for grant money. And if you could use the grant money to essentially cover the entire aeration system of the plant, you're looking at a pretty good project that's pretty necessary. And if you could get the grant funding for it, that would just be really helpful and help move that project along. So these two projects, basically, LSSE kind of basically puts forward to the borough that if this is something the borough want to pursue, LSSE could prepare the grant applications for these projects. They can be put in for funding, and then pending award of the grants, potentially have one or two projects move forward fully grant funded at no cost to the borough. So, and with regards to these applications, pretty much if the borough would approve of LSSE's preparation of these grant applications, LSSE would prepare the grant application. At the board's March meeting, there would need to be a resolution adopted by the borough. Basically, a lot like the FEMA grant was, adopt a resolution saying, yes, we're applying for this and the amount of this for the grant money. And the board's next meeting is the day before the deadline. So if we brought the borough authorized LSSE to prepare, we could bring that resolution to the March meeting. The board can motion to adopt it, and the application can then be submitted on March 15th. And this grant application is also open if there was potentially any other potential project that the borough had in mind as well, dealing with infrastructure. This grant application is open to that. These grant applications in the past are compared to the FEMA grant application process. This grant is much more fairly straightforward and simple and less demanding. So probably it would, at least in my experience dealing with these CFA grants, it's usually a grant application that proves many dividends compared to its initial cost to actually apply. So that's pretty much.
Do you need a motion?
I'll make that motion to proceed with. Go ahead.
If I may, to prepare each per grant application, until we can speak to for LSSE to prepare those, I guess we need authorization for roughly how much lifted we have on our end to prepare per application to get these ready for next month's meeting.
I did not actually discuss an exact amount with Ryan, but I'm figuring somewhere probably 2,000.
My understanding was roughly $2,000 to $3,000 to prepare all the paperwork and the necessary components to the each grant. So certainly that's part of the reason bringing this to the borough's attention. If you want us to proceed with any of
So
that.
it's costing between $2,000 and $3,000 to prepare this grant each.
It's not quite as much as the FEMA grant and stuff we went through, but there is a little bit of work on our end. I mean, if you want to set a cap on that, maybe $2,000 to $2,500, and we could probably absorb any little bit beyond that if we need to. It's,
Okay.
you know, we
Is
feel
that
it's
per grant? Per grant, you said?
per grant, yes. But we you know, this was like Dalton said, this was issued January 26th, and they only gave you basically about 6 weeks to get everything together. So, you know, these were two projects listed here that we felt, you know, would be a big help to the borough.
So you have to individually get the grant for each project that you're.
Yes, you can apply for
Well,
as many grants as you want.
We put the crusher pumps in. To me, that kind of alleviated the need for the force main, because we're getting more flow in that damn plant than you can shake a stick at.
Yeah, my understanding on that, just of my involvement with Ryan and Dalton on that aspect, was that old, is it an old cast iron line that's like 40 years old, is that correct?
Probably, but when
So-
they cut the pipe down at the plant,
Yeah.
couldn't even tell that it was.
Yeah,
more.
okay, well, if that's,
So I'm not saying it's the rest of the line,
right,
you know what I mean? I'm not, you know, I was smart to have a camera, but nobody has a camera that long,
sure.
you know
No,
what I mean?
certainly if
But, I don't wanna speak out of turn to everybody else, but, well, because when we put them crusher pumps in, the flow, like, we met whatever, the reason for those pumps going in with one of them, maintenance, but the other one was, the flow wasn't enough to the plants, that's why they thought that the pipe main was. Yeah, so we put the crusher pumps in, and now the flow's like more than I want it to be actually. Because we do have a limit with that plant can take. So, and going down there and talking to Mark, and when they put the new meter in down, we moved the meter down to the plant, because the meter in the pump house, I don't know, it was wasn't jiving with the frequency drives, and we couldn't get the right readings and all, so the pump guy actually paid $7,000 to move the meter down to the plant. And when they cut that pipe, so they had to cut the pipe in two places to fit this thing in, and they said when they cut the pipe, you couldn't even tell there was any wear on it. And that's the pipe that's sticking above the ground. That's just what I heard.
Well, that's fine.
You know what I mean? I mean, Mark, you couldn't even tell there was, the pipe was even in the ground. It's been in there for, I mean, it's only putting liquid in there.
No, that's fine, those were just two suggested,
Yeah.
putting our heads together on.
I mean, I would like to,
If there's anything else.
I don't wanna not do it, you know what I mean, sit here and tell you not to do it. But I know the flow's a lot better.
What
It's a
kind
lot
of-
better.
What kind of money we looking at on that project there?
$500,000.
Yeah,
To
that's-
put the new line in, cause that's the problem we were having. The pump house wasn't giving enough flow to the plant. So we put one pressure pump in and that got more. Now they're all replaced, communators are gone. It's just crusher pumps now, and the flow is like, I went down there one day and Mark said it was 700 some thousand gallons. I said, well, I know we wanted to up it, but yeah, we didn't want to up it that much. So I was asking if there was a way to reduce with the drives to reduce the flow. So I don't think that's an issue. In talking to, I don't know, talking to everybody, I don't think the main line's an issue.
Yep, that was pretty
I hate
much-
to sit here and say that and a year from now the thing blows up, but,
Yep.
you know,
These
I
were just,
know the flow is going.
Yeah, we knew we had this project on the shelf, and we also know the aeration system has been a work in progress.
Can
so-
we, how do I wanna do this?
Revisit it?
No, we can't revisit it, because we have to have the grant application before next month.
Why don't
Can we, make the motion of doing 2 grants, but let me investigate the,
Flow.
main line? And table that one at the next meeting if we need to?
Or certainly if there's a different project that you would like to
Main
apply
Street.
for besides that one.
Main Street.
To kind of go with this grant application, a specific one, this isn't necessarily how I prefer to do it, but I know at least in the past for this grant, I have been handed grant, LSA funded grant applications before the day, 2 days before the deadline and have completed those. So this is a grant application that could potentially be done with a shorter time window if there was, if the motion was done and a motion carried to do the force main replacement pending a review of it, but that review, like say for instance 2 weeks from now we got work, you were able to investigate and were able to say, yeah, let's go ahead with this project, we would still be able to move forward with.
That's what I mean, I don't wanna hold up the grant process, but
Is there another
Can we
project
change that
could
to
be
Main Street?
addressed? Yeah, I agree with Main Street, if that
I
could
mean,
be.
it's gonna end up being a project, I can see it already. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a project.
correct me if I'm wrong, Dalton, I may be getting the grants confused, but my understanding with this grant is we would have to wait until the grant would be approved. You can't do any design or anything, so that's why the Main Street project.
So you don't even know where the grant money can go until it's approved?
Well, with the project, so with this grant, pretty much you can do all the design work. You can do everything up to advertising it for bid before you get the funds. You have to get the CFA grants because the CFA actually has to provide some additional material to go into your bid package. So you can have everything designed. It's just that you have to wait for the money to be able to put it
So,
out there.
well, I guess my question is, before next month, what do you need to know?
For this specific project, for any
How many
project we run
grants?
this, for this grant, any grant application, sorry. We would need to know the scope, so if there's so much sewer pipe, we need to pretty much know, this is the length of sewer, so we can put a price to it. Cause the grant application will include the scope of the project,